Welcome everybody to the Scale Up Show. This is your host, Ryan Staley. I have a very, very special guest with me today. I have Prabhjot Singh. Prabhjot is the serial entrepreneur who started multiple for-profit social enterprise and nonprofit ventures. He serves as the president and CEO of Pyze, and they are venture capital backed leader in terms of digital transformation analytics. Welcome. Happy to have you on the show. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Ryan. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So walk us through your go-to-market strategy, high level, just like what's your go-to-market strategy?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in partners, right? Especially when you're a startup, right? There's a few dimensions that you've got to get right? You've got to get the product market fit right? Being able to sort of solve a key problem, right,
Mm-hmm.
for a customer, and then once you do that, the harder part is the distribution strategy, right? Like we know that, typically the best product may not even win, right? It's the company that can get the best distribution that typically wins, right? Now, if you've got the most amazing product and you've got a winner distribution strategy, well, then you're going to kill it, right? It's going to be a unicorn, and and it's hard, right, for any startup to get the attention of large enterprises, right? So if you're playing in the enterprise sphere where you're selling to Fortune 100, Global 2000, right? Like good luck getting a meeting with a VP level person, right? That's hard,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just
it's
because
definitely
they got a
hard.
lot, right? They've got a lot going on. So if you can connect with a trusted partner, or you can help a partner of theirs be more strategic, deliver greater value while solving a problem for them, well, then you're gold. And that's the approach that we've taken. Right, our focus is on process improvement. We help enterprises improve the operational efficiency of their key business processes, right? So for a bank, it might be someone wants to open a bank account. There's a ton of steps that have to happen, right? From someone showing up at a branch or filling out an application online, right, to when that first deposit can be made in that bank account. There's multiple people that have to touch that process. There's bottlenecks, there's friction points, right, along the way. So what we do is we do a MRI of that end-to-end process, right? And we'll identify, oh, this is where you have a bottleneck. Here's an opportunity to automate. Here's an opportunity to conduct better training, right? Here's best practices you can cross-pollinate from this region to this region, right? That's the kind of work that we do for large enterprises, right? Like the U.S. Air Force, Fortune 500 banks, so forth.
What's the toughest thing to do when you're trying to scale from, 1 to 8 figures?
Yeah, it's really about the team, right? Like if you can get to a million in revenue, you've kind of got a model that works, right? You've got to kind of make sure as you kind of go to that next 10x of revenue, you've got the team in place that can ensure that your customers are successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think where a lot of companies falter is not having the processes well defined that ensure success, right? Because, like, look, I don't think of product market fit as necessarily a revenue figure,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like people will say, oh, you get to a million in ARR and you've got kind of product market fit. It's really about customer success, right? How successful you can make your existing customers. Uh, are they renewing? Are you increasing your footprint in those accounts, right? Are you helping them solve the problems that they came to you with, right? So if you can do that and you can demonstrate that year over year, well, then you've got uh, a process that you can scale, right? And then it's about the people to scale that process. Like when someone's making an investment in your software, right? They're putting their job on the line in some
Yep.
ways, right? And especially when you're a startup, right? there's that whole thing saying of, no one got fired for buying IBM, right? But which used to be back in the day. I don't know if it's still true today, but but if you're convincing someone to purchase your software, you should be making a commitment of, for every dollar that you give me, I'm going to give you X dollars in benefit, right? And then have the ability to measure that, because if you don't have the ability to measure that, you're at risk, basically.
What's your single biggest challenge you're running into in terms of growing?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got to verticalize our approach to the market, and that's something that like, yeah, we sell into kind of very verticalized, specialized spaces, right? Financial services, government, manufacturing, right? Where we're just sort of seeing more and more interest in healthcare, like we were talking about, during the pregame. Um, and as you get deeper into these verticals, you've got to have really deep understanding, right? Of, like, if you're going to go and have a conversation with someone who does warehouse management, right, and help them improve their warehousing processes, you got to be able to have a conversation with them, and not sound like a fifth grader, right? Like, because this is what they do every day, all day long. So so having domain experts that can have that conversation, that can help with sort of the right solutioning, is important. Having kind of the product, as you mentioned from that Deloitte study, right? Easy to implement. And when you think about that in a vertical context, right? The lingo, the jargon, right? The capabilities, the use cases should support that vertical. And the more you can get that to be out of the box without customization, right? Because, yeah, people say they want to customize for me, but they'd much rather it was customized out of the box, right?
And what would you say is the single biggest mistake that organizations make when they're trying to leverage this model or create this model or implement it, I should say?
Yeah, I'd say putting the cart before the horse, right? Because you've got to make sure there's a there, and the only way you can do that is by, if you've got kind of mutual customers, or you've got places that you worked before, right, with that partner, whether it was directly or tangentially, you might have some of those proof points. But, like, if you're gonna, as a startup, if you're gonna invest a year into a partnership, right, like, you better be darn sure that it's gonna generate the results that you want, right? Otherwise, like, that there's huge opportunity cost to doing that. With partner, you just get a lot more leverage, right?
Hmm.
Because it's much more cost effective as a go-to-market model. You don't have to have a big sales organization, right? And so there's obviously cost benefit to that. What you lose out with is control of opportunities, right?
Hmm.
Because you're not the one that's sitting next to the customer,
Right.
or, right, directly selling to the customer, right? You're dependent on someone else, so you've got to build that trust, right? And you've got to have sort of faith that, they're gonna uh, prioritize you, right, versus the, five or other 10, whatever, however many competing priorities that they might have, right? So that part is something that requires calibration.
What is advice you would give to your early startup self, right? So when you're just starting your first startup, what advice would you give knowing what you know now?
Everything takes longer than you think it will, so plan for it.
I feel like that message is for me. I always want stuff to happen faster than it does. So thank
That's
you.
right.
It was a pleasure having you on the show. I really appreciate you. Where can people find you? Where can they learn more about you?
Yeah, check out Pyze.com. Hit me up on LinkedIn. I, would love to chat with your listeners if there's a use case for our process intelligence to improve your business operations. Look me up.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, Ryan. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. Thanks.